welcome back to the Aussie Expat Podcast. Today we're very excited because we've got a friend, client, Joe Poulos with us.
Welcome,
all the
Joe.
way from...
Hi guys, thank you for having me.
Where'd you fly in from yesterday? The Gold Coast. So
Yep.
yes, excited to have you here.
Great to be back in Singapore.
It's good to have you here because I think it's, we've been friends, we've been, been a client of ours, you've been a client of Tristan's for a little while, and, you've gone through the gamut of being an expat and then setting up a business and kind of, creating a whole new journey for you, which has been really exciting to see the last few years. So for anyone listening, how would you kind of describe who you are now and where you kind of come from before?
So who I am now professionally, I'm a buyer's advocate, specialising in Australian real estate, particularly Eastern Seaboard, Brisbane, Sydney, Gold Coast. Personally, I'm an ex-expat, ex-Singapore, loved my time in Singapore, made some amazing friends here. Now, thanks to COVID, that all ended. And now, back in Australia. And, I think the great thing about, having this time overseas was seeing the world through a different lens, having different experiences, and then going back to Australia with a completely different view on life and, a really good understanding of expat life and how hard it is to move countries.
Yes.
And most importantly, how hard it is to move back. Moving back to Australia is a big thing for anyone, let alone doing it under the circumstances that I moved back under, which was, COVID, fleeing Singapore in really difficult times, and going back to Australia, which seemed like absolute paradise compared to Singapore during COVID.
How long were you in Singapore for before you moved back?
5 years.
Yep.
And then moved back to Australia in 2021 amidst the COVID meltdown. Decided that we would go back for a short time, wait out COVID.
Yeah.
And now we're 2025 and I'm still there.
You're still there, And tell me, from memory, you changed cities as well. I think you Sydney Sider and then you become a Queenslander.
Yeah, so grew up in Brisbane.
Oh, yes,
And finished college, went down to Sydney, spent a lot of my working life in Sydney, did a stint in London, and then my partner got a job in Singapore, which is what brought us to Singapore. And
another trailing spouse.
No,
yes,
trailing
Jamie,
spouse.
Tristan and I are all
horrible term. Trailing spouse. 50s housewife, basically. But yeah, and that's a real challenge to move here to support, your partner's career and then have to re-establish yourself professionally in this market.
Yeah.
And I really struggled. I had a fantastic career in Australia. I was working for News Corp. I had really senior positions, and then came up to Singapore, and my network in Asia was non-existent compared to Australia. And so it really took me a long time to re-establish my career in Singapore.
Especially when you first come up here. I mean, I had the same thing. I had to come up, and it took me a good 12 months to actually find a job that was stable. And I learned a lot in the 12 months that it didn't work. But at the same time, when you're in it, it's a very confronting thing. It causes a lot of insecurities, especially if you've never not worked before. You've got to kind of rebuild that network again, which is not an easy thing to do sometimes, especially professionally up here. But I think you ended up finding something eventually.
I was really lucky. Yeah. I found an awesome role that was out of an existing relationship from my network in Australia. Yeah. So we had a partnership with a global business down in Australia. It just so happened when I came to Singapore that the person who was running Asia left the business. So I was a perfect fit to go into that role. But like you, it took me 12 months to find that perfect fit.
Yes.
And then, that role, my remit was like New Zealand to Mongolia and everything in between. So, North Asia, South Asia.
Yes.
It was a huge remit. So, my network in Asia, once I got into that role, absolutely boomed.
Yes.
And I left 5 years later with one of the strongest professional networks in that category, because I knew everyone in Asia. I spent my life on planes, and it was lots of really exciting, but it was a steep learning curve.
Yeah, definitely. So like new proper new markets to you and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is the Australian life where you sort of very much live in the Australian bubble, and sometimes it's even the East Coast bubble, and then you come to expat land, you're like, wow, Asia's pretty complicated, pretty big,
and it's not all one place.
No.
Yes,
like I think there's this perception, particularly in Australia, but for the rest of the world, that Asia is one place.
Yeah.
There's so many different markets and so many different cultures and so many different nuanced cultures.
Yes. Different customs, different way they do business, different things they value.
Yeah.
It's like, I admit I had complete ignorance on so much of it before I moved up here.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't know until you know, right? Until you're up here as
Yeah.
well. But I think same thing, once you get that first job and you kind of get a bit more established, then it kind of all starts to happen from there as well, which is,
Yeah. It was also the best 5 years of my life, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Really great experience. I think, meeting like-minded people from other countries who, didn't want to get stuck in the rut of, living in their city or living in the town where they grew up, and meeting new people, having a bit of an adventure, learning new cultures, expanding their professional network, and having all those great new experiences, plus being able to travel and live in a foreign country. I think it is really character building, and I met some really interesting people.
Yes.
Who have become lifelong friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best part of being up here.
Yes.
For sure.
And you do make friends very quickly up here because, everybody's in the same boat. Nobody's got friends here. Nobody's got family here.
Shared experience.
Yes.
Like living a common experience.
Yeah.
Like there's, everyone who talks to you, you've got something in common automatically.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason I love doing business up here as well.
Yes.
Same thing, you just have an innate understanding of what people are going through.
Yes.
Sometimes.
I've got this theory about expats that I think the sort of person it takes to become an expat is an ambitious person. So someone that is open to new experiences, open to new challenges, and happy to. It's kind of here in expat land. It's people are so they've got so many layers and so many things they're up to. So that's my theory anyway. Feel free to challenge it, gentlemen.
No, I agree with that. And every expat I've ever spoken to who lives here said they came for 2 years and they're now 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
Everybody comes with that mindset that they're just going to be here for 2 years. In 2 years, you're just really hitting your stride.
Definitely.
You've established the professional network, you've established your social network, you're starting to earn good money, the travel's good. If you really are enjoying it, there's no way you go home after 2 years. It's too soon.
No.
Yeah.
It's different milestones, I think people, especially like kids schooling, that's always the number one thing. But everyone's a bit different.
Kids schooling, family, exactly. But like Joe, I feel like I know you're based in Australia now, but I feel you've never left, in my opinion, because you've got this great client customer base up here in Asia, and you're up here all the time, and you bridge this really nice gap between Australia and expat land with on the property side, which is really cool. So
and Singapore still feels like home to me.
Yes.
I still have great friends here. Still have a home here, I want to be able to have that flexibility to go back and forth to Australia.
Yes.
Unfortunately, because the nature of the business, I do need to be on the ground in Australia a lot more than I am up here. So I don't get up here as often as I'd like to. And I think originally the intention was, I'll just come back and forth to Australia from
easy.
Singapore, and it's so easy. It's only 7 hours. But, the ambition of coming back sort of every couple of weeks has dimmed slightly to every couple of months, but that's the nature of the business, and our clients expect us to be on the ground in Australia. So the amount of time that I've been able to get back to Singapore and spend up here has reduced a lot. But I love what I do in Australia, and I love helping people come back to Australia, particularly expats, because I understand how challenging it can be to find a property from overseas.
Definitely.
And to have that trusted advisor on the ground in Australia to guide the whole process, lead you through the whole process, shortlist properties, do the inspections, get the property all set up and ready to go. is gold, because I know from personal experience, having moved back and forth overseas several times.
Yes.
If I had me on the ground in Australia, it would have made a huge difference to my life.
Definitely. I mean, look, I've bought 2 properties using buyer's agents. I recommend buyer's agents to all of my clients that are purchasing, because to do it from overseas these days, it's almost impossible now. To do it well, you know, even just to get it done, but to do it well, be able to actually understand the property you're buying, understand the location. Not everyone has the luxury of just being able to fly back and see it. So doing all that pre-work, that pre-inspection. I bought both of my properties without seeing.
And that takes a lot of trust. You know, you've got to have
Yes.
a really good relationship with that person and really trust that person.
Definitely.
To buy a property on their say-so.
Yes.
And probably about 50% of my clients will buy without seeing the property.
Yeah.
And the other half will come down, but we'll do one trip.
Yes.
So it's one trip with me versus 5 or 6 trips on their own.
Yes.
Before they actually secure something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it does cut out a lot of back and forth.
Definitely.
That was a part that I also did, just like Tim. We use a buyer's agent. We bought a property in Melbourne, and it's kind of having someone professional to coach you through when you miss out on a property as well.
Yes.
You know, that's the, I
Which
think
happens.
it happens a lot. You get your hopes up, especially just because you're jumping on a plane and flying down to Australia. It doesn't mean you're going to get the property. It doesn't mean you're going to like it.
I think the biggest risk of buying properties from afar is getting the pricing wrong.
100%.
Yes.
And, you know, real estate agents in Australia prey on expats
Yes.
and prey on their lack of understanding of what is the right price and what is market value. Because, you know, if they're not represented with an advocate, they're selling to somebody who is frustrated with the process, short on time, just want to get the deal done, and not familiar with, you know, the other comps in the market.
Sounds like a dream client.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And so, you know, having representation protects you from all of that and can save you a lot of money.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's not really just the logistics. It's really having somebody who knows the market, who's seen all the transactions in that different area, who knows what fair market value is and can negotiate really hard on your behalf.
Definitely.
And that's where, you know, a good buyer's agent really earns their money and will save you money on the deal.
I always say that, like, actually, because a lot of people go, I have to pay a fee, and especially if they have particular streets or it's like a particular area that they really think that they want to buy in, but they're like, I don't want to have to pay this fee because I know what I'm doing. I said, I guarantee you, if you have a good buyer's agent, they will save you that money in the long term easily.
And
let alone from time, but also on price and
then
negotiation.
And, you know, I've saved clients before, you know, $500,000. You know, of what they were prepared to pay.
Wow.
And because, you know, we're in the market day in, day out. We see what things are selling for, and agents will tell clients a price. And say, look, and they'll use their comps to show what price they want. But we have our own comps. And we can have that argument with real estate agents to negotiate to what is fair market value and what is a good deal for the buyer and the seller. And I've got lots of examples of that. I mean, 500,000 that I saved some clients from San Francisco was a big one.
That's phenomenal.
It was,
especially in their mind, they're like, this is how much I love that property, and I'm prepared to pay this much for the property. So in your mind, you're
the agent wanted 9 million.
Yep.
It was a property in Darling Point. The agent wanted 9 million. The seller wanted 9 million. They were getting divorced. My client said, we're happy to pay 8.75.
Okay.
Yep.
And I said, give me 2 days. They said, okay, but don't lose it because we want it. And we'll happily pay 8.75. We think it's good value. Making that phone call to say it's yours at 8,250. They were very, very happy. And so, you know, in that case, you know, we saved them a lot more than our fee. Our fee was minuscule.
I think I would say $750 in that scenario.
Compared to you know, what they would have paid. And you know, that's the job. We are there for the buyer to make sure that they're buying well. And you know, my philosophy on buying property is you make your money when you buy. And that really sets you up for a good, strong, solid growth out of that property.
Definitely. It'd be good to go back, I guess. Obviously, starting a business is a big decision for everyone, right? So what kind of made you decide, okay, I've got this expertise in property, it's something that I love to do, I've got these clients and people that I know need this service, but obviously taking the next step and actually starting the business is a big thing to do.
And also doing it on your own.
Yes.
So not joining someone else.
Yes. Talk through that process and kind of how you came to that decision.
I think really when I look back at it, I feel like I've been doing property for the last 25 years. I bought my first property in Sydney in my 20s. And I've always loved property. Even when I was a little kid, a really little kid. The two things I loved was building houses with my Lego. Yeah. And they were always mega mansions.
Yes.
And Matchbox cars. My sister reminded me of that last night. Matchbox cars and Lego. Yeah. And, I've always bought and sold property. I've always renovated property. I've always flipped property. Done my own developments. And I've always been that guy that people came to and said, what do you think about this property? What do you think about that one? Can you bid at auction for me? Real estate agents have always bought me things and said, we've got this property coming up. So to make the transition out of my corporate career and into the business was really quite simple, because it literally just became, I moved my side hustle to my main career. And honestly, it's the best thing I ever did, because I love it. I live and breathe real estate. I love property. I love looking at property. I love helping people. Love seeing people get what they want.
Yes.
And, that look on someone's face, or the expression that you get from them when you say it's yours. And we got it at this price. And you're set. It really is very, very satisfying. Much more satisfying than launching a campaign for a bank. And I remember, the moment that I just decided I had enough, and I had moved back to Australia during COVID, and I was doing a marketing strategy for a bank in Australia. And, I was consulting, and it was very well paid, but I can remember sitting in a boardroom in Bank of Queensland offices in Brisbane and talking about a brand strategy, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. This is so boring. And I really want to go and look at that property down on the Gold Coast as a potential renovator. And I just decided at that point, this is what I want to do. And I've just never really looked back. Starting the business was hard. And starting the business on my own was really hard. Particularly in an industry like real estate, where you've got licensing. And I went and did some courses. I'm also, part of our business model is interiors, staging and styling.
Which is a good addition to have.
So I went and got qualified as an interior designer.
Cool.
I got my real estate license. I built the website from scratch, although I did have help for that. But building a business on your own is hard, and it's lonely.
Very.
But very rewarding. And my background in corporate was all brand. Basically, that's what I did. It was really lovely to do this business and build a brand for myself. And for once, apply all that knowledge and that strategy and creativity into building a brand from scratch. And really sort of, understanding what I wanted the brand to stand for. What was our value proposition for customers? What did we want the brand to look like? What's the imagery that supports the brand? And it really is so personal.
It is.
And the business that I've started really is a reflection of me.
I think it's again, going through a very similar journey. I had the exact same thing. I kind of finished up at the bank. I had that moment of I had 2 other jobs lined up at other banks. I signed a contract and I was just like, I hate this. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And someone put the idea in my head, and I thought, you just get that feeling, right? Now is the time to do this. And definitely the thing people don't tell you about when you first start is it is lonely. It's literally you in your room. You've got to kind of work it all out. All the fun stuff like the brand design and messaging is good, but then you've got to do all the logistics behind it. Build the website, how do I get all my processes together?
What do I give a customer when I have a meeting with them?
Yep.
What's the proposal document? What's that customer journey? And what are all the touch points along the way that I need to create?
Yes.
So I'm not chasing my tail when I actually do get a customer.
Exactly. And then you got to get the first one, which is always like, I still remember the first one that I had 7.5 years ago, and it's such it stays with you forever.
Yes.
I think. But it's also the most rewarding one. You're like, yes, I can actually make this work now. I know it's it's going to be a success. I know it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good feeling. And I think, I was really fortunate enough to be supported by some great people who knew my real estate pedigree, knew my background, knew my passion for property, who said, you would be amazing in that business and doing what you've told me the business is going to do. And I've got clients that I can send you, and you only need a couple of those people to support you, to get you on that wave. And then once you get the momentum to start, then you're off and racing. But those key support people and that network, that initial network, was so vitally important for me.
Definitely. Especially when because the first part of the business is just focused on the Gold Coast as well, right?
That's right. So,
So especially when it's a very local community area, having good relationships with the real estate agents, good relationships with any kind of agents that are helping people move there.
Well, I mean, when I started the business, it was COVID, and everybody wanted to move to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So really, my customer at that time was not people from the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
It was people from Singapore. It was people from Hong Kong. It was people from Sydney and Melbourne who were desperate to buy on the Gold Coast. And because I've had a property on the Gold Coast and been going there for holidays since I was like a child.
Yeah.
But I bought my first property on the Gold Coast when I was 26, and I've been buying and selling there ever since.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, people in Sydney and Melbourne, the Gold Coast was on their radar, and they were like, let's buy on the Gold Coast. But they didn't know where to buy.
No.
They didn't know what suburbs to buy. They didn't know how much to pay. They just knew they wanted to be there.
Yeah.
So having that local expertise and that knowledge was a huge help. And that's really where I got a lot of my traction, was from that period of COVID, where everybody wanted something on the Gold Coast, and but they just didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
Yep. It's interesting that in my impression as a Canberra and Melbourneite, Gold Coast has got this kind of this holiday vibe to it, and I can see coming out of COVID, just like, I want some place where someone's not going to lock me in my house. I want a beach. I want the sun. It's just got this great.
Queensland was very open during COVID.
Yeah,
as well,
that's probably what helped.
It was. I remember arriving back on the Gold Coast from Singapore, and it was the height of COVID, and there's people at the beach.
Yeah.
People are walking the dogs. There was no face masks. Everybody's out exercising.
I remember when I went back to Brisbane, and same thing. Like, I got off the plane and got out of my quarantine for 2 weeks, and I was the only person in the street that had a mask on when I was walking around. Everyone's looking at you, going, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. I've been locked in my house for 6 months in Singapore, and then going back there, and it was like, oh no, we're still going to the beach. And
literally,
yeah. But I think the Gold Coast, yes, to me, always represented holidays. That's where we used to go for 2 weeks every year. Growing up in Brisbane, we'd go down to the Gold Coast, and they were the great times. And then when I grew up, I'd go down there with my friends. We had really good times.
Yeah.
The Gold Coast has really grown up since then.
Yeah.
It was always sort of the poor cousin of Brisbane. It's now a city in its own right.
It's the second highest median house price now, behind Sydney.
That's right.
It's actually higher than Brisbane.
1.14 million is a median house price.
Yes.
Sydney is 146. The forecast for that gap to close was 2034, around the Olympics. The property pundits were saying that the Gold Coast median house price would eclipse Sydney in 2034. They've now brought that back to 2028. Because of the growth.
Yeah.
The Gold Coast has got $60 billion worth of infrastructure spending, either planned or underway.
Yep.
$2 billion of that is the Olympics. So $58 billion in roads, hospitals, schools, private development. We're getting a Ritz-Carlton, we're getting a St. Regis. They've just opened a Mondrian, and there's this insatiable appetite for development sites because developers just can't keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
Our economy is double the national forecast. Unemployment's half the national number. Vacancy rates are record lows. It's great for investors. I think our economy grew $45 billion last year.
Which is huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, it is the fastest growing region in Australia. And that's what drives property prices. And I can't see that there'll be any end to the growth until sort of, 2 years past the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's certainly where the forecasts are. And in terms of property, the Gold Coast was always very cyclical. They used to say Sydney sneezes, Gold Coast catches a cold. Property prices in Sydney would drop 2%, Gold Coast would drop 20%.
Yeah. Well, in my early banking days, it was GFC, and I was in the credit team, and we were assessing deals for Gold Coast properties, and some of the price drops were like 30-40%.
Huge.
12, 18 months ago.
Yes, huge.
Yeah.
But in the last drop, sort of in that post-COVID dip that Australian real estate had, Sydney came back 10%.
Yeah.
Melbourne went back 20%. Gold Coast and Brisbane stayed stable. For the first time ever. And, there might have been a little bit of growth, like 0.1%, but it didn't go backwards.
Yeah.
So, Brisbane, Gold Coast markets have shown resilience. And, Sydney, Melbourne markets, we've been buying a bit in Sydney and a bit in Brisbane and a lot on the Gold Coast. And, looking at the Sydney market and what's happening there, it's still in the doldrums. Melbourne's definitely still in the doldrums. The Gold Coast and Brisbane are really booming.
Yep.
There's still more buyers than sellers. There's still a shortage of stock.
Yeah.
And price growth is really strong.
Yep.
Where are you seeing a lot of the population growth come from? Is it a lot of internal migration from people moving up from Melbourne and Sydney still? Because I know that was driving a lot in last year.
That has slowed, albeit it's still 400 new residents every week moving to the Gold Coast. So that's a lot. International migration, 10% of the international migration moves to the Gold Coast.
Okay.
So 560,000 new residents, I think. Overseas residents moving to Australia is forecast.
So 50-ish.
So, those people are moving to the Gold Coast or the southeast Queensland region. So it is a lot. But still we're seeing this, what I call exodus to affordability from Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah.
People are still looking for more affordable options. They don't need to be in the big cities.
Yeah.
They want space, they want the lifestyle, they want the blue sky, they want the good weather.
Yeah.
And, particularly people who own businesses, who can afford to live on the Gold Coast and, be able to travel backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
The other big, migration is downsizers and retirees. Still, people who are selling businesses in Sydney and Melbourne and Canberra as well is a big one. And deciding I want to be on the coast. I want to live a great lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're actually retiring or whether they're still sort of, running businesses or running parts of a former business, they want to be on the coast.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've always said that for years. I just think that as more and more kind of, retirees get a bit older, they want to escape kind of the cold Melbourne. They've got a big house to downsize from, be able to live on the beach. I think we saw a lot of that kind of the last 12, 18 months as well. And I think it's only going to pick up as that demographic.
Yeah.
Start more and more retiring every year now.
Yes.
Well.
And it's changing the property landscape as well because developers are now building buildings according to that customer.
Yeah.
Back in the day, in the 80s and early 90s construction booms, developers were only building 2-bed, 2-bath, 1-car apartments.
Yeah. Yep.
That was it. Those apartments now, developers would be crazy to build them because you just can't sell them.
Yeah.
People want the big 3 and 4 bedroom apartments with 2 bathrooms or 3 bathrooms, multi-purpose room, 2 and 3 car garage, walking distance to everything, close to the beach. You know, the stock is changing according to the customer demographic.
Yeah, but it's good. It's much more livable stock as well.
Absolutely. And you know, going back to the fear of COVID happening again, people want to lock up. You know, even people from Sydney and Melbourne are, you know, buying on the Gold Coast because they're saying, well, if COVID happens again and I can't go overseas, I want to be able to escape and go somewhere warm where it's, you know, I can be on holidays and it's safe.
Yes.
And I don't want to be in a tiny apartment.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. And tell me, Joe, with all of that said, if you're buying an investment property for someone and for a client, and I know you obviously look after Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Queensland, I assume everything in between as well. Where would you buy a sort of investment property for someone that's looking for something sub million, you know, kind of, you know, pure investment play?
Yeah, it's a good question because we are seeing a sweet spot for investors sub 1 million.
Okay.
And in fact, clients come to me and they say, I've been approved for 1.1 or 1.2.
Yep.
You can get a really good yield on 850.
Yeah.
850 to 950.
Yes.
Is this new sweet spot that we're seeing?
Yeah.
Both Brisbane and Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Sydney not so much. The price point's a lot higher.
Yeah.
Unless you want to go out west.
Yep.
To areas like Parramatta, but you know there's not the price growth there.
No.
Where we're seeing really good value for investors is in 850 to 950 inner city suburbs, 2 to 3 beds, 2 bath, 2 car. And we're buying on a 5.5 to a 6.5% yield.
Yeah, wow.
Coupled with really strong forecast growth.
Yep.
Particularly for SMSF investors. And it's, you know, people always used to say, well, you either get yield or growth, but you usually don't get both. We're buying both. And, you know, for our investors, we're always looking at those 2 metrics. And, you know, property pundits always used to say, well, you get better growth out of houses, you don't get as good growth out of units, but you get a higher yield for units, but lower yield for houses. Well, that's changed as well. You know, for the first time, unit growth in both Brisbane and Gold Coast has outstripped house price growth.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know that.
You know, for the first time ever, not by much, but you're still getting the same growth, and you know, units still provide a better yield.
Do you find that's been a function of just the population growth that's come in to Brisbane and kind of what was on the market, but or was there like a supply-demand gap between units and houses?
Supply and demand, yes. So that's really what's driving unit price growth. You know, we've seen a short supply of development sites. We've seen a lot of builders go bust. So there's a shortage on builders to actually build new product, which then puts upward pressure on the existing product.
Yep.
So that is really putting pressure on units. Plus, you know, the socio-economic changes of people not wanting to be out in the suburbs anymore with a big house. You know, there's been this huge shift. People don't want the big house and the maintenance anymore. They want a bigger apartment closer to, you know, the centre of whatever city they're living in. So unit living has become a lot more popular, which is driving the growth as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it also comes back to, like you said, the developments they're building now. Units are a lot more livable than they were previously.
They were. And you know, Brisbane units spent 8 years in the doldrums. You know, there was no growth.
At all.
And I think it was also, you know, they were also a victim of the type of developments that builders were building or developers were building in Brisbane. You know, they weren't particularly nice. They were small, 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom in some instances, small floor plates. The stock is changing in Brisbane now. You know, they're building luxury. They're building 3 and 4 bedroom apartments. So the apartment market in Brisbane now is picking up and it's moving. But you know, if you bought an apartment in Fortitude Valley or South Brisbane, you know, 8 years ago, you probably still haven't made any money on them.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. And once again, that's another trap for people who are buying from afar.
Yes.
Either Sydney, Melbourne, or expats who are buying from overseas.
Yes.
They don't know the nuances of those areas. They're not there seeing how many apartments might be going up in one particular area.
Yeah. It's a common thing, but Brisbane and both Sydney and Melbourne as well. Like, I'm more familiar with the Melbourne market right now, but
Yes.
same thing. I think apartments there. I bought an apartment there last year, and I bought it for the same price that it was off the plan for 11 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it hasn't gone. There was just so much development in those inner city areas for all three cities for a long time.
Because there's always something brand new
Yes.
that you're going to compete with.
Yeah.
And, I always tell investors to steer away from those big buildings and
Yes.
big developments because there will always be another apartment for sale in the building that a
Yes.
buyer can compare yours to.
Always. Yeah.
Same floor plan, same aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, probably a different floor.
Yeah.
But they can go, well, they're going to do that one for $780. Therefore, if you're going to meet my price, I'll either buy that one or yours.
Yeah.
So if you want $820, you're laughing because I can get that one for $780.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas, if you're buying in a boutique building, a small building,
Yeah.
where there's no competition, you can be more aggressive on price.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And they're just nicer buildings as well. It's just simple.
Yeah, exactly.
No one likes to live in a big tower unless they have to these days. So.
Yeah.
It'd be good to just take another minute on the business because, like I said earlier, you kind of started at the Gold Coast, but you're going into year 3 now with the business and you've expanded, right? So you're in Brisbane now and you've also just recently expanded down to Sydney too.
Yeah, so when I started the business, I had this sort of idea of, a lifestyle business where I could just operate on the Gold Coast and, have time to go to the beach and fly backwards and forwards to Singapore, and it was all just going to be...
Sounds awesome.
Quite fabulous.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And yes, the business has been really successful on the Gold Coast, and we've, forged a really great footprint and stronghold on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
We've also started buying Brisbane and Sydney. Obviously, both those markets I know like the back of my hand. Sydney, I bought and sold, a lot in Sydney over 25 years. Gold Coast, I know inside out.
Yeah.
Brisbane, it's my hometown. I know those markets, and it's really happened organically because of our client base who are based overseas or interstate, and they've said, well, we want a place in Brisbane, or we want a place in Sydney, or we bought for them on the Gold Coast and then they want to put their foot on something in Sydney, so we've helped them as well. And it's come about because of the trust that clients have for me. They know me and they go, well, I know you've bought for us really well in one of those markets. Can you buy us something else in another market?
Yeah.
So that trust is there, and rather than go with an unknown, they want to go with a known quantity of someone who they can rely on and who'll be transparent and give them the truth.
Just tell them how it is sometimes, right? There's a lot of agents that can be very pushy because they just want to get the close done as quickly as possible. Yes. Yeah. But I know, obviously I know you and how you work, and it's not that same process for you. Like, it's really putting the right property in front of the person. It might take a little bit longer sometimes. But,
absolutely. It's a lot of money.
Client experience is much better.
I've been there before, where I bought a property for myself because I had to buy. I'd sold. I made that terrible mistake of selling before I'd bought.
Yeah.
And then missed out on 3 properties, and I had to buy, and I bought the wrong property. And, that was a deeply painful experience, although I did make a 20% profit on that property when I sold it.
Of course you did.
Like I said,
that's a bad deal for you.
You make your money on the way in. But, logistically it was a headache. I had to then move into that property, settle it. I had to do work to it in order to make the 20%.
Yeah.
Style it, stage it, sell it, flip it, move into something else. It is, if you get it wrong, it can be very painful. And so that's why, you have somebody to hold your hand through the process when you have a buyer's agent who can honestly, hand on heart, say, listen, I don't think this is the right property for you. Don't rush it. If it's not this one, there'll be something else. And I say that to my clients all the time. There's no pressure.
No.
I'm presenting you with opportunities. If there's not one in there that you like, we'll move on.
Yeah. And just trust your gut sometimes as well, right? Like I think that's, again, we have clients that we work with sometimes for a year, 2 years. And from my perspective, I always tell them it can be, the process can be challenging, but I can tell you it will happen when it's meant to.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's...
And sometimes you get it right straight away.
Yeah.
And, it just so happens that property that comes along is exactly what you're looking for, exactly what matches the brief. And it is hard to say to clients, look, this is perfect for you.
Yeah.
I know it's like the first one that I've shown you, but I'm telling you it's a really good one.
Yeah.
And quite often they'll say, but I want to see some more. Yes. And then they'll see some more, and then 2 months later you'll come back to that one. They keep going, I wish I had bought that one. I wish I had bought that one. I wish I had bought that one. Yeah. And you can't turn back the clock.
No.
Yep.
Because that one's gone.
Yeah.
And sometimes, clients will take a leap of faith with me and they'll go, I trust you on this. Let's do it.
Yes.
But sometimes they'll go, no, it's too soon. And I get that totally. Yeah. I would probably be the same.
Everyone has a process.
Yeah. Everybody's the same. And like I said, I would probably be that person who would say, no, show me some more. But, sometimes it's the best property. And same on the sell side. Sometimes your first offer is your best offer, and you kick yourself in a month's time because you've held out for a higher price.
Yeah. I guess, Joe, it'd be good to hear kind of what's been a recent success story for you, for a client.
There's a couple that spring to mind. The one that I love the most was a client came to me. He just sold a business, got divorced, wanted to move to the Gold Coast.
Yep.
And reinvent himself.
Sounds appropriate.
all too familiar story when we're buying on the Gold Coast. But this guy was similar age to me, and really didn't know where to start. Didn't know the coast, but knew that he wanted to live there to be closer to his brother. So he came to me, moving up from Canberra, and he said, "Look, I think I want to be around near where my brother lives, which is Robina, which is a very family suburb, big houses, big blocks of land." And I immediately thought to myself, if you're newly single and living on your own, you do not want to live in Robina. You want to be beachside. You want to be walking distance to cafes, restaurants, shops, so you're not feeling isolated.
Yes.
So I showed him properties in Robina, showed him properties in Mermaid Beach.
Yep.
And, he did one flight and he said, you were right, Mermaid Beach is it. We bought him a beautiful 4-bed, 3-bath duplex with a pool, 200 metres to the beach, walking distance to everything. He was wrapped. We bought it at a really good price. And, getting divorced, he had no furniture. He had nothing really to bring up from Canberra. So he utilised our interior service. We got it repainted, curtains, blinds, and then fully furnished the home right down to sheets on the bed. So when he arrived from Canberra, he literally turned up with his clothes in his car. And the last time he'd seen the property was when we'd inspected it 3 months before.
Wow.
To see him open the door and his absolute delight, which then turned to tears, because, he had got something in a really short amount of time that he wouldn't otherwise be able to do himself. And he cried and he said, "This is so amazing. I've been through such a challenging time in my life. And for you to just take care of all this for me, and now I've got this beautiful home to start the next phase of my life, is really amazing and life-changing for me. Thank you so much." And I think, part of what we do, it sounds corny, but part of what we do is really helping people. And, to see the looks on people's faces when you give them that end product and say, this is your new home, this is your new life. It really is amazing. And that's success to me.
Well, and it's always the same for us, right? Like it's often the biggest transaction for most people in their life, at whatever it's going to be, home or investment. Yeah. And it's a big, anything finance that big it's a big commitment for people too. Yeah. It's a very emotional thing for a lot of people to go through as well. Then you chuck in and then divorce and life circumstances and everything else on top of it. So
and then that's an owner ox story, and then from an investor perspective, I always have people come to me and they say, I want to build a property portfolio, either in SMSF or, I'm worried about my children not being able to afford to get into the market, so I want to build a portfolio now.
Yes,
and
common with a lot of clients.
Getting more common.
Very common.
Getting more.
And I had a client come to me about 18 months ago, and we bought for him a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car apartment, paid $930,000. The idea was that, you know, he'd buy that first one, and I always say to my clients, the first one is so important that you get that immediate growth, or there's immediate equity uplift through, you know, doing a light renovation, that we can then, you know, use that to buy the next one.
Yes.
So we paid $930 for that 12 months ago. The apartment next door just sold for 1.2.
Nice.
So we've done a light renovation in the last couple of weeks. Carpets, paint, new lights, new drapes.
Yeah.
We're getting that revalued. So there's 250 grand's worth of equity there now.
Yeah,
and he can then tip into another one.
Yeah.
And he's off and racing.
Yeah,
amazing.
And, you know, we'll buy the next one in the next, you know, couple of months in the spring buying season. You know, hopefully we'll get that immediate equity out of that one.
Yes.
And then he can buy his third property. So that strategy, you know, has come to life really quickly. And easily, and it doesn't always work out that way, but you know, that's the aim, certainly. So so for investors, that's what success looks like.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you're fortunate that in the markets you're buying in, you can get that immediate growth uplift at the moment too, because it doesn't always happen that quickly as well.
Yes, exactly. Particularly in markets like Melbourne.
Yes.
You know, where there is, you know, it's flat. And you know, if you do want long-term growth and you're happy to wait, I think Melbourne's, you know, a good option, but you just don't know how long you're going to wait for.
Yeah.
But if you buy into a market like Brisbane, Sydney, or Gold Coast, you know that the growth is going to come quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they are growing markets. Sydney is flat now, but you know, it's Sydney, so it's always going to come back.
It's still going to be the international city.
That's
for
right.
Australia. And look, I think Melbourne has good long-term prospects, but exactly like you said, it's not going to be something that happens in 12 months. I think the price point there has gotten so low that it's, you know, there is a lot of value to be had, because there's still a lot of people that are moving to Melbourne, but I don't think it'll take a couple of years.
Yeah, at least the coffee's good in Melbourne.
Yes.
That's keeps us happy down there, I think.
Probably my last couple of questions. Hidden gems or things that people must see when they visit the Gold Coast.
So the restaurant and dining and bar scene on the Gold Coast has really taken off in the last sort of five years. There's some great new restaurants opened up at Nobby's Beach, and really sophisticated restaurants. Gold Coast has always been very sort of casual beachside dining.
Yeah.
We're now starting to see that sophistication.
Yeah.
You know, Burleigh as well. There's some really good restaurants down there. Great bakeries and cafes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, the beaches are amazing on the coast, and there's nowhere quite like that long, expansive shoreline.
Yeah.
People, when they come to the Gold Coast, also, you know, sometimes forget about the hinterland.
Yeah.
There's some amazing hiking trails, waterfalls and swimming holes up in the hinterland as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always say to people when they come to the coast, there is more to the Gold Coast than beaches and high rises. You know, there is some really good hikes and walking trails. Obviously, for golf lovers, you know, we've got more golf courses per capita than any other city in the world.
Yep. Probably our last question. Best piece of life advice that you've ever received?
There's two, I think. The first one my sister gave me when I was about 18 years old. And, you know, just sort of starting my professional career.
Yep.
And, you know, a piece of advice she gave me was... never be afraid to walk away. You know, if there's a deal on the table, or there is an opportunity that doesn't work for you, walk away, because you know, you'll regret that decision if you cave to pressure and do a deal, or you accept something that you probably are not comfortable accepting. And I think, you know, that's really set me up both in my professional and my personal life. You know, you've got to look after yourself because nobody else will. And you know, that comes down to what I do now. You know, like, I do the right thing by my clients, and I look after my client. You know, that's what a buyer's agent does.
Really good ethos to have.
Is to always be doing the best deal possible for my client. And if the deal that, you know, is coming from the other side is not the best deal for my client, I always say for us, because I feel like I'm doing the deal for myself as well. You know, we walk away. We'll find something else. The other piece of advice I got from a manager in my corporate life, which was play the ball, not the man. You know, and I think in what I do now, you know, there is a lot of egos.
Yeah.
And you know,
a lot of egos. I think it's the most egocentric industry out there. I think real estate.
And you know, at the end of the day, we are there to secure a property for our clients.
Yes.
That's what we want to do. Get you a house. And you know, I just ignore all the bullshit and all the egos and all of the, you know, argy-bargy, you know, pardon my French, but developing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do the best deal for my client and try and get them a house.
Yeah.
And if that deal is not there, well, then we walk away and we find something else.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's always something else there, right? It's and it goes back to your first point, like, don't be afraid to say no to things.
And you know, look at things and think, if it doesn't happen, it didn't happen for a reason. There's something better out there. It wasn't meant to be.
Yes.
It wasn't your house.
Yes.
I say that to my clients.
Literally.
It wasn't your house. That's clever.
You know, it wasn't your house.
Yep.
No. And it's having someone like you to guide people like that. It makes a big difference, right? Because it can get for someone that doesn't have that advice or kind of hand holding.
And also,
you can get despondent very easily, especially after you miss.
And for clients that are doing it, or for buyers that are doing it on their own, you know, to get to that point and then to miss out is absolutely gut-wrenching, because they put in so much time and effort.
Yes.
Whereas if you've got someone who's in your corner and who's doing that work for you, to say, it's okay, there'll be another one, they go, oh, okay, I feel good, because it's not another, you know, 6 months of Saturdays for them looking. It's like, okay, Joe's got it.
Yes.
He's going to take care of it. He said there's another one. I'll leave him do it and come back to me when he's found something.
He's back in his car driving around, which is
which
is where you are a lot of the time when I call you, Joe. I was like, where are you, Joe? I'm in
my
car.
My life in my car.
Looking at some amazing properties.
Yeah.
Especially on the Gold Coast. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, Joe. Like, we really appreciate you having you on. It's I love your story, and I love your business and just the way that you help our clients as well. So
thank you very much. It's been great to see you guys. It's great to hang out.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, love your work. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you. All right.